Right now, at this very moment, over 100 million Americans are in the path of what could become the most dangerous winter storm in 5 years. And if you live anywhere between Texas and the East Coast, the next 72 hours will determine whether you are prepared or caught completely off guard. Here's what nobody is telling you. This isn't just another winter weather event. This is a perfect storm of Arctic air colliding with Gulf moisture in a way that meteorologists haven't seen since January 2014. And in just 30 seconds, I'm going to reveal the 3 counties that are about to get hit the hardest and why one major city could lose power for up to 7 days. But first, you need to understand something critical. Wind chills of 65 degrees below zero are already confirmed for parts of Minnesota and the Dakotas. That's cold enough to cause frostbite in less than 5 minutes. And this same Arctic mass is racing south at unprecedented speed, bringing with it a weather pattern that defies normal winter storm behavior. Now here's your first reward for staying with me. If you are in Dallas, Little Rock, Nashville, or Oklahoma City, you need to hear this. Models are now showing up to 12 inches of snow in areas that rarely see more than 2. But snow isn't even your biggest concern, it's the ice. Over 1 inch of freezing rain is forecast for parts of North Texas and Louisiana. Let me put that in perspective for you. A 1/4 inch of ice can snap power lines, 1/2 inch can bring down trees. 1 inch, that's catastrophic. Why is this happening? And more importantly, why now? The answer lies in something weather experts call atmospheric blocking. Think of it like this. Imagine a massive wall of cold air sitting over the northern plains, so strong and so stable that it refuses to move. At the same time, warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico is surging north with unusual strength. When these two forces meet, they don't just create snow. They create a battleground where precipitation can stall for days. Here's what keeps me up at night about this storm. The high-pressure system driving this Arctic blast is measuring 1,054 millibars over South Dakota. For those who aren't weather geeks, that's extraordinarily strong. It is like having a 1,500-pound weight pressing down on the atmosphere, forcing all that frigid air straight south into states that simply aren't built to handle it. Remember the ice storm that paralyzed Atlanta in 2014? This could be worse. And I say that not to frighten you, but because preparation in the next 24 hours could literally save your life. As Proverbs 27 verse 12 tells us, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Right now, you have the knowledge. The question is, will you act on it? Let's talk about Friday. This is when everything begins. Around 4 to 5 in the afternoon, if you are near Dallas-Fort Worth, you will start seeing the first freezing rain. It won't seem like much at first, maybe just a light glaze on your windshield. But by Friday night, this system explodes in intensity. I am talking about freezing rain falling so heavily and for so long that power companies are already pre-positioning crews across 6 states. Here's a number that should grab your attention. The European weather model, which has been the most accurate predictor this winter, is showing continuous freezing rain for up to 18 hours in some locations. 18 hours. Do you know what your neighborhood looks like after 18 hours of ice accumulation? I do. I've seen it. Every tree limb becomes a weapon. Every power line becomes a ticking time bomb. Every road becomes a skating rink. But here's where it gets even more complex. While Dallas and Shreveport are dealing with ice, Oklahoma City and Little Rock could see something different. Heavy snow, not the light fluffy kind you see in Christmas movies. We're talking about dense wet snow that piles up fast because the storm is moving so slowly. Current forecasts show these cities could wake up Saturday morning to 10 to 12 inches of accumulation. That is more snow than they typically see in an entire winter, delivered in less than 24 hours. Now, you might be wondering, how confident are meteorologists about this forecast? Let me show you something that should concern everyone watching. The probability of at least 1 inch of snow covers almost the entire state of Oklahoma. We're talking 90% confidence or higher. For 6 inches or more, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Fayetteville, Arkansas are showing 70 to 80% probability. In weather forecasting, those are slam dunk numbers. And here's your critical question. What makes this storm different from the dozens of winter systems we see every year? 3 factors. First, the collision zone. That imaginary line where Arctic air meets Gulf moisture is going to stretch from New Mexico all the way to Virginia. That S, over 1,500 miles of potential winter weather impacts. Second, the duration. This isn't a fast-moving clipper system that S in and out in 6 hours. This storm could dump precipitation for 3 full days in some areas. Third, the geography. This is hitting states where half an inch of ice is considered extreme. We are potentially looking at 1 inch or more. Let me paint you a picture of Saturday. By morning, the storm has fully developed. From West Texas to South Carolina, you have an active ice storm. Right down the middle, from Dallas through Shreveport to Jackson, Mississippi, freezing rain is falling at rates of 0.1 to 0.2 inches per hour. That might not sound like much, but ice accumulates differently than snow. It doesn't compress, it just builds and builds and builds. Meanwhile, moderate to heavy snow continues across the Central Plains. Amarillo could see 6 to 8 inches. Oklahoma City might hit a foot. Little Rock could receive their biggest snowfall since the 1970s. And here's the twist nobody expected. Nashville, Tennessee is now in the bullseye for 8 to 10 inches of snow. When was the last time Nashville saw that much snow? You'd have to go back decades. Sunday morning brings no relief. In fact, the storm begins spreading east. Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, they all enter the danger zone. And this is where we could see what meteorologists call a cold air damming event. Essentially, the cold air gets trapped against the Appalachian Mountains, and precipitation falling into that trapped air mass freezes on contact. The Carolinas and Georgia could wake up to a 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice. In Atlanta, that is a complete shutdown scenario. Here is the number I promised you at the 5-minute mark. Infrastructure damage estimates for this storm, if it plays out as currently modeled, could exceed $2 billion. That S billion with a B. Why so high? Because we're not talking about roof damage or broken windows. We were talking about downed power lines, collapsed cell towers, damaged transformers, and weeks of repair work across multiple states. The power grid in North Texas alone could see damage that takes 7 to 10 days to fully restore. Think about what 7 days without power means. No heat during Arctic cold, no way to charge your phone, no way to keep medicine refrigerated, no hot meals. For many of our senior citizens living alone, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's a legitimate survival situation. And that's why I am talking to you right now while you still have time to prepare. Let's address the question everyone is asking. Could this really be worse than the ice storm that crippled the South in 2014? Here is what the data shows. That storm dropped about 3/4 of an inch of ice across much of Arkansas and Mississippi. It knocked out power to over 600,000 customers. Trees and power lines were down for weeks. The economic impact exceeded $1 billion. Now look at current forecasts. We're seeing potential ice accumulations of 1 inch or more across a wider geographic area. The Arctic air mass is stronger, the duration is longer. Yes, this could absolutely be worse. But here's something that gives me hope. We have warning. In 2014, that ice storm developed faster than expected. Forecasters had less lead time. This time, we were 5 days out, and the models are remarkably consistent. That consistency tells us something important. This is really going to happen. But it also gives you time to prepare, time to check on elderly neighbors, time to make sure your family has what they need. The faith that has sustained Americans through every crisis in our history, that same faith calls us to be wise stewards. To prepare not out of fear, but out of love for our families and communities. Matthew 25 verses 1 through 13 tells the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 wise and 5 foolish. The difference? The wise brought extra oil for their lamps. They prepared. When the bridegroom came, they were ready. The foolish were caught unprepared, and they suffered the consequences. Right now, you have the opportunity to be wise. Here is exactly what you need to do before Friday afternoon. Get to the store today, Tuesday or Wednesday morning at the latest. By Thursday, shelves will be empty. You need batteries, flashlights, and at least 3 days' worth of non-perishable food. I am talking canned goods, peanut butter, bread, crackers, things that don't require cooking. Fill your bathtub with water. If power goes out, your water pressure might go too. A full tub gives you water for flushing toilets and washing. Charge everything. Your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your backup battery packs. Charge that old phone that's been sitting in your drawer for 3 years. When the power goes out, any charged device becomes precious. If you have a generator, test it now. Make sure you have fuel. Make sure it actually runs. Don't to wait until Saturday when you're in the dark to discover it doesn't work. And please, if you run a generator, keep it outside and away from windows. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills more people during power outages than freezing does. Here is something most people don't think about. Medications. If you take critical medications that require refrigeration like insulin, you need a plan. Ice in a cooler can work, but only if you have ice. Fill some containers with water and freeze them now while you still have power. If you have elderly parents or neighbors, check on them. Make sure they know what's coming. Make sure they have what they need. In times like these, we recalled to love our neighbor as ourselves. That's not just a nice sentiment, it is a commandment that saves lives. Let me address the business owners watching this. If you employ people, you have a responsibility to make decisions now. Will you stay open Saturday and Sunday and risk your employees' safety, or will you close and plan accordingly? Small businesses across the South are going to take a major hit from this storm. 3 days of closures in multiple states. But you know what's more expensive than closing for 3 days? A lawsuit because an employee got hurt driving to work in an ice storm. Make the hard call now. Protect your people. The meteorological details of this storm are fascinating in a terrifying way. That high-pressure system I mentioned earlier, the one at 1,054 millibars, it is not moving. It is just sitting there like a boulder in a stream, forcing everything to flow around it. The jet stream, which normally guides storm systems across the country, is essentially blocked. So all that moisture from the Gulf has nowhere to go. It just keeps pumping into the same area hour after hour, creating snowfall and ice accumulation totals that would be impressive in Colorado. But this is Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina. Here is the reality that weather forecasters Don T. often say out loud. There is still uncertainty in exactly where the heaviest snow will fall. The European model shows one scenario. The American GFS model shows another, shifted about 100 to 200 miles south. That's a massive difference. It means Little Rock could get 12 inches or 6 inches, depending on which model is right. It means Nashville could be buried or just clipped. It means the difference between a historic storm and merely a significant one. But here's what both models agree on. Major impacts are coming. The ice threat is real. Power outages are likely. Travel will be dangerous to impossible. Whether you get 10 inches of snow or 6, whether you get 3/4 inch of ice or a full inch, the outcome is the same. You need to be prepared to shelter in place for multiple days. Monday could bring yet another complication. As this storm finally begins to move east, it could impact the Interstate 95 corridor from Richmond to Philadelphia. Cold air damming could produce ice across Virginia and Maryland. Snow could pile up in West Virginia. And all of this happens while millions of people are trying to get back to work after the weekend. The ripple effects could last well into the following week. Let's talk about what happens after the storm. This is the part nobody thinks about until it's too late. UV survived the event. Power is still out. Roads are impassable. Now what? This is where community becomes everything. In rural areas, neighbors check on neighbors. Someone with a generator shares warmth. Someone with a four-wheel drive vehicle becomes the community lifeline. Churches open their doors as warming centers. This is when we see the very best of American resilience and faith in action. But you can wait until the crisis to build those relationships. If you don't know your neighbors now, introduce yourself today. Exchange phone numbers, find out who has medical needs, find out who lives alone, create a phone tree so you can check on each other if cell service gets spotty. This is practical Christianity. This is faith with hands and feet. James chapter 2 verse 14 asks, "What good is faith without deeds?" In a winter storm, faith means preparing and then helping others do the same. For those in apartment buildings or urban areas, your preparation looks different but is equally important. You might not have a bathtub to fill, but you can store water in containers. You might not have a generator, but you can have extra blankets and layers of clothing. Your car, if you have one, can be a temporary warming space, but never run it in an enclosed garage. That's a carbon monoxide death trap. Here's a sobering thought. Cell towers need power too. When the grid goes down, your cell phone might work for a few hours on tower battery backup. But after that, you could be cut off from communication entirely. This is why you need to make your plans now while communication is easy. Decide where family members will go. Decide how you will check in on each other. Have a backup plan for your backup plan. The economic impact of this storm extends far beyond immediate damage. Supply chains will be disrupted. Trucks can't drive on ice. Airports will close. Deliveries will be delayed. If you're expecting an important package or medication delivery this weekend, it's not coming. Plan accordingly. If you need prescription refills, get them now. Don't wait until Friday and discover the pharmacy closed early. I want to address something that might be on your mind. Is climate change making these storms worse? That's a complicated question with a nuanced answer. What we are seeing is a disruption of the polar vortex, allowing Arctic air to plunge much further south than normal. Whether that's part of long-term climate trends is a debate for another day. What matters right now is that this storm is coming, it's going to be severe, and you need to be ready. Here's what the next 72 hours look like hour by hour. Tuesday night, cold air begins filtering into the northern plains. Wednesday, temperatures drop across the Midwest. Wind chills become dangerous in Minnesota and the Dakotas. Thursday, the Arctic air mass surges south. Temperatures in Texas drop from the 60s to the 30s. Friday afternoon, precipitation begins. By Friday night, the storm is in full force. Saturday and Sunday, ongoing winter weather across multiple states. Monday, the storm begins to exit, but impacts continue. For those of you who work in emergency services, healthcare, or utilities, you are about to have the toughest weekend you've had in years. Power company linemen will be working around the clock in dangerous conditions. Emergency room staff will handle everything from heart attacks, from shoveling to car accident trauma. First responders will be navigating impassable roads to reach people in crisis. To all of you who serve in these capacities, thank you. Your sacrifice doesn't go unnoticed. And for the rest of us, this is a weekend to stay off the roads and let these heroes do their jobs. If you absolutely must travel during this storm, I'm begging you to reconsider. But if there's no choice, pack a winter survival kit in your car. Blankets, water, snacks, a flashlight, a fully charged phone, and a charger. Tell someone your route and expected arrival time. If you slide off the road or get stranded, stay with your vehicle. Run the engine for heat in short bursts, but make sure your exhaust pipe isn't blocked by snow. Crack a window slightly for ventilation. More people die from carbon monoxide in their cars during winter storms than from freezing. The spiritual dimension of disasters like this is something we don't talk about enough. These events strip away our illusions of control. They remind us that for all our technology and progress, we still at the mercy of forces far greater than ourselves. That's not a comfortable thought in 2026. We used to controlling our environment, heating, cooling, lighting, all at the touch of a button. But when that power goes out and the ice keeps falling, we forced to confront our vulnerability. And yet, it's often in these moments that we see the most profound examples of human kindness. The stranger who shares his generator, the church that opens as a shelter, the neighbor who checks door to door to make sure everyone is okay. These aren't random acts. They reflections of something deeper. The image of God in every person, calling us to love and serve even when, especially when, it is difficult. Psalm 107 verses 23 through 30 describes those who go down to the sea in ships, who see the works of the Lord in the deep. They cry out to him in their trouble, and he delivers them from their distress. He stills the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea are hushed. We may not be sailors, but we're about to go through our own storm. And the same God who controls the seas controls the winter weather. Prayer is a substitute for preparation, but it is a powerful companion to it. Here's what I need you to understand as we approach the end of this forecast. This storm is not a maybe. It's not a possibility that might fizzle out. Every model, every meteorologist, every piece of data points to the same conclusion. A major winter storm is going to impact the southern United States beginning Friday and continuing through the weekend. The only questions that remain are the precise locations of heaviest snowfall and ice accumulation. But whether you are in the bullseye or on the edge, you need to be prepared. The difference between people who weather storms successfully and those who suffer preventable tragedy often comes down to one thing: taking the warning seriously. Not panicking, but acting. Not hoarding, but preparing reasonably. Not ignoring the danger, but facing it with eyes wide open and a plan in hand. In the coming days, IL have updated forecasts as this storm gets closer and the models sharpen their focus. We'll know more about exact snowfall totals. We'll have better clarity on ice accumulation zones. We'll understand the timing more precisely. But the big picture is already clear. This is a dangerous, potentially historic winter storm. And your window for preparation is closing fast. If you found this information valuable, if it helped you understand what is coming and how to prepare, then you have a responsibility. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your elderly parents who might not follow weather forecasts closely. Your friend in Dallas who doesn't take winter weather seriously because it rarely happens. Your colleague in Little Rock who is planning to travel this weekend. Information saves lives, but only if it is shared. Remember, we not just preparing for snow and ice. We re-preparing for power outages that could last a week. We re-preparing for impassable roads. We re-preparing for a breakdown in normal services. That means water, food, warmth, and communication need backup plans. It means checking on vulnerable populations. It means being ready to help your community when the crisis hits. The beauty of the American spirit is that we rise to challenges. We've been through hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and ice storms before. We'll get through this one too. But the cost depends on how seriously we take the next 48 hours. This is your moment to be wise now, to be the one who listened, who acted, who was ready, to be the neighbor who had extra batteries, to be the person who checked on the elderly couple down the street, to be the light in your community when the power goes out. As we face this storm together, let's remember that we stronger together than alone. Our faith teaches us this. Our history proves it, and the coming days will test it once again. But I have confidence that communities across the South will respond with resilience, compassion, and strength. That who we are, that who we've always been, and that who we'll continue to be, even when the ice is falling and the power is out. Let me give you one more critical piece of information that could save your life. The difference between surviving a winter storm comfortably and suffering through it comes down to layering. If your power goes out, your house will start losing heat immediately. In well-insulated homes, you might lose 1 degree per hour. In older homes, it could be 2 to 3 degrees per hour. Within 12 hours, your indoor temperature could drop to the 40s or 30s. That's when hypothermia becomes a real risk, especially for the elderly and very young. Here's your protection strategy. Dress in layers even indoors. Start with thermal underwear or long johns. Add a regular shirt and pants, then a sweater or hoodie. Top it with a winter coat if necessary. Wear a hat indoors. You lose up to 40% of your body heat through your head. Wear thick socks, and if you have them, insulated boots even inside. Keep your hands warm with gloves. This isn't about looking silly. This is about staying alive. Designate one specific room as your safe room today. Choose the smallest room in your house, preferably one with no outside walls. Close off all other rooms. Hang blankets over doorways to keep heat in. Body heat in a confined space can keep temperatures survivable even when the rest of the house is freezing. Bring your entire family together. Share